Good morning, Paul. Nice to see you again. Thank you for agreeing to talk about your coaching experience with me when I worked as a mentor to you in a startup business. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Paul Inett. I'm currently commercial director at a company called Woodlands Worcestershire, which is a critical power generation business, so rental, sales, service, maintenance, repairs.
When you and I first met, you were not really convinced that it was necessary to have a mentor, but by the end of our discussions, you decided that there was some value in having a mentor. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think I knew that I wanted really to learn a little more, but I was quite concerned about the process of mentoring being too academic, if I'm really honest.
Okay.
I was a little concerned that it would be more of a mini MBA than practical real life lessons, and I was running very fast at the time. I was extraordinarily busy, as you remember.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on, and I just didn't. Not only my professional life, but also my personal life too.
What was it that actually encouraged you to engage me as your mentor in that business?
Well, I think you managed to encourage me that it wasn't going to be. There was no written test at the end, and no 300-page assignment. So that was pretty good. But the other thing I think that I guess the other two things, your experience at AT&T and Marconi, very much. Was aligned in the data center and critical infrastructure market space that we're working in at the time. I actually liked the style, your gentle but direct questioning. I thought we got to the point quite quickly, and I like that. So that would be my summary.
So what was the key learning points for you from engaging me as your mentor?
I think my impression of my own personal performance and how it was going was a little lower than what was actually being achieved. I'd come from several reasonable stints at medium and large sized blue chip companies in business development, functional mid-senior level roles. What I was doing at the time I met you for the first time was a leadership role, a true leadership role, and making some very, very solid decisions.
You were first of all looking at developing yourself and making yourself able to handle a bigger job and a bigger geographical coverage. But I think it also got you thinking about where were the decisions being made and where were you involved in shaping the business, which is interesting as well.
The reality was the impression I got about where the decision making should be and where it actually was different, and you helped me navigate that and understand that quite quickly, actually, surprisingly quickly. Yeah.
So looking back at that time, what is it that really was helpful to you?
I think, so how to establish priorities was very, very important to me. So, and I guess real understanding of delegation and holding not only yourselves to account, but also your team individually to account, and not only your team, but those above you. And it wasn't something I think that I was doing well enough before we met, but certainly improved rapidly over time. It's something I've carried with me since. Decision making and really holding those people that you delegate to account, and actually supporting them with some of that too, putting time to it. So that was a key piece for me.
So in summary, what was it like working with me?
It was enjoyable and tough at the same time, I would say. We have still a very open conversational style, nothing off the table, very straightforward, I would say, which is no bull. So I like that. But also on the no bull aspect, at the end of every session, it wasn't just okay, I'll see you next week, Paul. It's kind of like, well, where are we then? What do we agree? The key things that should be achieved. What do you think they should be? Where are they? And I knew that the next week those would be the first things you talk to me about. So actually, when you're leading something, you have to hold yourself to account. You have to hold yourself to account, and you were mirroring that really. And I guess you've taught me a process of how to do that for myself, self-discipline.
Yeah. And what it gave you was a sense of momentum and getting control, which I think fed into your confidence as well. What do you
Yeah, it
think?
did. Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. It's interesting that when things are going well, everyone wants to be involved, right? And everyone wants to be part of it. When things are getting a bit sticky, it becomes very lonely very quickly.
Mm.
But those are the times that matter actually. And it's during those times you've got to be sure of the path you're going and why. And actually working alongside you as, I guess, as an interested independent and someone with other very aligned skill was quite a good sounding board for me, and really did help me have the confidence to navigate through what was quite a tricky period at that time. Yeah.
And I'm wondering what lessons have
Sure.
stayed with you as you
For sure
moved
they have.
into other jobs after that.
So actually, as I look back, the value of it is less about functional capability and more about emotional intelligence, I would say. So that I think during my sessions with you was the first time that I'd ever really spent any time discussing the aspects of emotional intelligence rather than functional capability. And it was right towards the end of that of our session that actually the results of the emotional intelligence survey that we did, that you shared that with me. And it's actually those lessons I think that have been more valuable to me over time, that have stayed with me than the functional ones, if you like.
What does the future look like for you at the moment then, Paul?
So it's good. I've recently joined a company I'm with now, Woodlands. Initially, my brief was to come in and help the company navigate its way through a tricky period, not in terms of the company itself, but in terms of the market. It was to bring some of my skills. And in fact, I guess I'm bringing some skills that they don't have on board. So yeah, I take nothing for granted right now. But actually, yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I can see really quite a good future at the business for sure.
Yeah, and you've got the track record and the experience to make that happen. Good
Sure. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's nice. Plus, it's local. It's a local, first time for a long time.
Yeah.
That I've actually worked at a local business, and it's actually quite a nice work-life balance too. So it's actually it's ticking a lot of boxes. It really is.
Well, with the COVID-19 pandemic, many people are worried about how they can manage their careers or whether they should be looking for another job. So thank you for sharing your experience, Paul.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's a tricky time for everybody. Unfortunately, there's a lot of very good people who are taking extended career breaks right now, who are looking for work, who under, call it normal situations, simply wouldn't be doing that. So it is a job searching right now is brutal.
Well, yours is a good news story, Paul. You're a beacon of light in a situation where you've found a new job in the middle of the lockdown. So thank you for sharing that story with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Other than it's great to catch up with you again. I thoroughly enjoyed our time together, and what I will say, and it is nearly 8 years on now, 7-8 years on. The lessons have stayed with me, and I do reflect on them, and they definitely have made a difference. So if anyone's, and I guess the reason for this, if anyone's thinking of it, it's definitely worth talking to you and seeing what the options could be. Definitely.
Well, I really loved working with you because in a mentoring role, it gives me the chance to bring my business experience as well as my coaching skills. So it was a real delight working with you, Paul.
Yeah, likewise. Great stuff.
So thanks very much for your time, and look forward to hearing about your success in the new year.
Great stuff. Thank you, Francis. See you again.
Thank you, Paul. If you want to look up other stories about my coaching successes, please look up francischristie.co.uk.